Hey everyone, this is Shoes, This Irish Life. Hope you're keeping well. I'm back again with a continuation of episode 3, part 2, Boyne Valley and My Torah. We're going to get into it straight away. We're going to do no recap this time. I think you should be fairly up to date at this stage. If you haven't watched the earlier videos, you probably should to get a feel of where it's going and what's happening. Last time we left off, we were in Navin, and we were looking at how the Boyne was developing over towards Carberry. So we're following the Boyne back towards Carberry, and we're looking at the stories and the people who were involved in these areas along the way. This is the Navin Viaduct. Very large piece of masonry running through the town of Navin in Meath. They found a souterrain. According to local folklore, actually they haven't found one, excuse me. A souterrain was discovered near the viaduct in 1848. The location of its entrance has since been lost / hidden. I added hidden. So this is it. And what's a souterrain? A souterrain is essentially an underground structure. So anything that's underground, that's a souterrain. So anything that's under the mud is called a souterrain. Okay? So remember that. Literally, they've just decided to call everything that's under the ground a souterrain. It's a name given to it by archaeologists to a structure associated with many European Atlantic Iron Age. So they literally just say, oh, that's Iron Age, that's a souterrain. Tick. Souterrains are all over Ireland. It is like Newgrange is a souterrain, Nouth, Douth, Tara, they're all souterrains. Anything that's got some sort of an entrance to it is a souterrain. There's souterrains all over Mayo that we're going to discuss, and these souterrains are sitting in the plain where the battles happened, which is very intriguing because it means we're on top of a gigantic underground complex that's covered in dirt, 6 to 12 feet. So Navin is over here. Oh, Navin. So this is Navin. The River Blackwater runs down this way. Is that the Blackwater there? Give it a second. Doesn't tell me. So another canal anyway, definitely. But this is Navin. Quarry again. Large quarry over here. Good area for the quarrying. I think it's limestone for the most part. It's again plenty of odd shapes. So remembering back into our last episode, Navin was below Telltown, which is here, which is the area of Taltu, the goddess, the last queen, the last high queen of Ireland, if there is such a thing, or high princess. So we're going to go down to here for some reason because I've got it tagged. I'm not quite sure why I'm going down there, but we're going to have a look. What was I looking at this? Oh yeah, look, there was some very sharp angles over here. I always come across things and then I drop a pin in, but I don't really know where I dropped it. Usually, look at this here, like that's probably it. I was looking at just the shapes, and I'm trying to examine what it looks like without the mud. I mean, once again, is this on a? This is flat, is it? Pretty flat. So there's no, and especially like when the land is flat, it's a fierce giveaway that there's things buried because the land is rarely flat, So this land this is probably the most mud-covered land in the country. Sure, it's well known to be a fertile plain. The Navin Aqueduct, or the Navin Viaduct, and the Navin area.
I'm going okay.
Yeah.
I'll have a free song. Look like this, Dad.
Perfect.
Bye-bye.
Videos while minding the kids. Sure, what else would you be doing? Watching YouTube instead of making it. Much more fun to watch it. The river really gives a good bend in through Navan as well here, doesn't it? Sorry, I'm just wandering through myself. Apologies if I wander off and just start looking at things, but I just get my attention caught sometimes, even here. So like that's the Blackwater there, and that's heading up towards Telltown, I'm pretty sure, is it? And that's that quarry. So this area here was Telltown up here. But Navan, interesting spot. I suppose we should pop into Navan and have a look. There was, like, where's the viaduct? Navan Viaduct. I would have thought I would have had that tagged. Maybe it's not that interesting. Navan. I think I may have found it and it was, is that what it was? That's this anyway. Let's have a look at this. That's Athlumney Castle. I hadn't even come across this, but here's another devastated castle, which is in Navan. It's all covered in dirt. Clearly, just absolutely devastated, you know, destroyed. You know, into the bedrock. Where is that castle now? I didn't come across that. That's just a find along the way. But we're not going to spend too much time in Navan. Oh, we've got a golf course here, do we? Pitch and putt. No, it's a housing estate. Housing estates probably follow the course as well. Like, look at these here. It's just so. If you had some examples from elsewhere, it would be easy to map on. It's just that if there was a formula that you could look for, you could map. It's just too hard to pick out the shapes. There's so much going on. But anyway, so that's Navan. Navan also plays a role later on. It's named after a goddess called Vaka. The original name for Navan, which I should have, or do I have it? I don't have it. But the original name for Navan is, I think it's not Ardvaka. Aunvaka. Aunvaka is what it is. Eamhainmhaca. But Vaka is one of the original goddesses of Ireland as well. So this is a very important place. Armagh, Aunvaka is also named after her. Or is Aunvaka? Armagh. Anyway, it's related to that goddess. So we're going to swiftly move on to the next stage of the journey, and we're going to introduce ourselves to the second battle of My Torah. And in this battle, the Firbolgs were already deposed, but they were still living in Ireland, as we've seen that the Queen Taltu was looking after Lug, and Lug was a Tuatha Dé Danann, and he was also a Fomorian. And the Tuatha Dé Danann were the ones in charge of the country now at this stage. So they won the first battle. As you might remember, Nuaga lost his arm and he was replaced by the king. Replaced as king by Bress, who was a Fomorian. So I'll give a quick overview of this second battle. I'll read this just to try and set the scene. But the Firbolg have been deposed and the Tuatha Dé Danann are in charge of the country. The last battle of My Torah tells how the Tuatha De Danann, having conquered Ireland, fall under the oppression of the Fomorians and then fight a battle to free themselves from this oppression. It expands on the references to the battle in the Lower Gaelic Éireann and the Irish Annals, and is one of the richest sources of tales of the former Irish gods. It is found in a 16th century manuscript, but is believed to be a composite work compiled in the 12th century from 9th century material. It begins with a brief account of the battle, the loss of Nuada's arm. Nuada is the leader of the Tuatha De Danann, and his replacement as king by Bres. And then it tells how Bres was conceived from a union between Eru of the Tuatha De Danann and Elaha of the Fomorians. So Eru was a Tuatha De Danann goddess, and Elaha was a Fomorian god, and one of the primary Fomorian gods. And Eru was one of the primary Fomorian goddesses. Eru could well have been one of the Morrigan. She was the daughter of, we'll get to that later. I can't remember off the top of my head. But it better not have been Elaha. She could have been the daughter of Nuada, was she? No, she wasn't. Anyway, because of his ancestry, Bres oppressed the Tuatha De Danann. So Bres, as a Fomorian, he oppressed the Tuatha De, making the noblest of them do menial work, imposing heavy tribute, and failing to show the level of hospitality expected of a king. So Bres was a very, very bad king during the time after the first battle of My Torah. So Bres is deposed as king, and Nuada has his arm restored with one made of silver by the physician Dean Cacht. And Dean Cacht is he the father of Cian, who is the father of Lug. But Dean Cacht is a physician, and Dean Cacht is the man who used the well at Slane during the second battle of My Torah in order to revive the men of the Tuatha De Danann, basically bring them back to life from the magical well on the hill of Slane that we looked at in the last episode. Or in the last section of in part 1 of this episode. So Dean Cacht made him a fake arm, made Nuada a fake arm. And Bres, then deposed, looks for assistance from the Fomorians, his clan, to take back kingship. And his father Elaha refuses, and another Fomorian leader, Balor of the Evil Eye, agrees to help him and agrees to raise a huge army. Balor of the Evil Eye was apparently living on Tory Island, off Donegal. Meanwhile, Luke, who we're going to be introduced to shortly, who was another product of a Tuatha De Danann and Fomorian union. So Lug's father was Cian, and his mother was Ethnu. Ethnu was Fomorian, daughter of Balor, this guy here, and Cian was Tuatha De Danann, son of Dean Cacht, I think, as far as I remember. Whose son may cause flesh to grow over. That's class. Look, they made him a bionic arm. That's class. So the tale of the leading up to the second battle of My Torah. So the tale of it is essentially that the Tuatha De Danann were having a terrible time because Bres was giving them a terrible time. He was the king of Ireland. Then Lug, he comes up to Tara, to a great feast that's happening in Tara, and he comes up to Nuada, the leader, the now again leader of the Tuatha De Danann. And the Tuatha De Danann are trying to come up with a way to get themselves away from the oppression of the Fomorians. So what happens is Lug arrives at Nuada's court and impresses the king with his many talents. There's a whole story to go with it. And he's given command of the Tuatha De Danann army. And he takes that army and he brings them over to here. So he takes the army from Tara, which is, so he starts at Tara, which is over here. Tara is down here somewhere. So he starts at Tara. Of course, my little heart for Tara has disappeared. And he brought them over to battle over here. So the battle took place up here in this area. The second battle. The first battle took place here. The second battle took place here between all of these hearts. This is where the land is littered with souterrains, as we discussed. All this area is souterrain land. Underground complexes everywhere. Ruins. All of these are ruins. All these hearts are basically ruins, which we'll see. All these hearts are basically ruins as well, for the most part. So back to the tale. Lug takes the Tuatha Dé Danann army and brings them over there, over to Mayo, and they have a final battle that the Tuatha Dé Danann end up winning, and they defeat the Fomorians, and there's a whole tale that goes with that. So if we'll have a quick look at this chap here, and this is Lug, or an illustration of Lug from someone. Very cool illustration. So Lug Lavada, with his shield, his long hair. Very cool picture. It's that map. We might have a look at that again in a moment. Here's another one of Lug the Ildana. He's in blue, which is an interesting one. The old gods, sometimes shown in blue. I found this also, which I thought was quite cool. We've got a couple of old gods here. This is actually related to Oliver Cromwell, 1656. It had attached to it. I think is that 1656, or is it I656? It probably is I. It actually is. Would you believe that? Now that is gas. I656. So this is Oliver Cromwell I656, and I think the more that I'm reading about these events, the battles of Oliver Cromwell could well almost be in reference to some of these older battles again as well. But it's just too difficult to work out. But this is an Irish goddess. I presume that this could well be Eru, and this could well be either the Dagda with his pitchfork, or his Poseidon. This could also be Athena. Look at that there. Amazing piece of art. And then you've got these guys up here in heaven. He's got a caduceus, could be Mercury. Lug is equated with Mercury. He's got something very fancy here. This could definitely be like Odin Allfather style. Is that the Dagda? Like this. This is a fierce bit of tech. They're all looking like Romans. Everybody looks like a Roman. Stag. This fella here with a scythe. She's got a harp. Harp of the Dagda. But that is a very cool little piece of art in there as well. And then we've got the ships sailing in. I'm not sure where this was in relation to an area of Ireland that I can't remember. But very, very interesting piece of art there. We've got one of the Dagda as well. I don't know where this came from. It probably doesn't look like him at all, of course. Just to give a bit of flavour. Where is it? This one here. That's Boan. This one, Dagda. He's meant to have a club. Looks very, very cool. Some of this artwork is just amazing. Absolutely wonderful. So back to the map here of Ireland, and let's just take a reset. We're down here, and we're also talking about over here. And the section that I mentioned a minute ago up above Mayo that disappeared is this section here. So this now is just sea, and this lake is gone. Okay, so this lake here is gone, and just to get your bearings, this is Loch Mask. This is where Kong is. This is where the first battle of My Torah took place, in this area here. down towards Tuam and Galway, all this area. And then you've got, this is where you've got forts and abbeys. I mean, if you look here, these are all cathedrals. Do I have the other map, which would be much better? That would be great if I had the other one. Where is it now? Because the other one really did show all of the, not that one, not that one, it is this one here. I just want to zoom in into the area of Mayo, because I know we've spent a lot of time in the Boyne Valley, so we're just going to re-get our bearings over here. I know we were in Navin, but we're going to come over here, and like we can see, these are all like what that other map was I showed earlier with the cathedrals. It's the same map, just sectioned. But see all of these here, a lot of these are now, I'm not sure if they're still around or not. There's a lot of destruction all along this area. And this is where the second battle of My Torah took place. The battle between the Tuatha Dé Danann and the the Tuatha Dé Danann and the Fomorians took place here. Is it here? Just here. Oh yeah. So it kind of goes along here, because this is different now. This part is gone. It kind of goes up here now. So let's just show a little bit of how the map is similar to the way it used to be. So here we're going to take away the favorites. Oh no, I'd be totally lost. Hide all them. Does that work? Turn off favorites. Turn on favorites. My places. Can you turn off the favorites? Do you know what we could do, actually? Just turn it into the map. Would that take off the favorites? It won't. Anyway. So we've got over here, this is Ireland. We'll get it going there now. So if we're looking at Ireland, we're seeing, for God's sake, it's so sensitive. Excuse me.
Daddy, have one of these. Okay. Okay, Daddy.
So it is proving almost impossible to get a side by side. I can't touch it. This section here is gone. So here is still, there's still this part jutting out, I think is this part here. And then we've got a large section here also gone, which was Tory Island. And this is the section that seems to be missing. This part here. And there's a big chunk taken off here. So Ireland used to have this bit coming out, and then this went from here up and around. But it's gone. This is all gone. This was a lake. This was a loch. This loch here. So you can see. Just don't click on it. It'll be alright. I'd love to get rid of those hearts. I'm so sorry about the hearts. I can't see the lakes. So this is the area where the second battle took place. This is the area where the first battle took place. The second battle was all along here, between these lakes. So Lake Arrow, and I can't remember the name of that one. There's two lakes here. There are two lakes now. I think this one here, there used to be one by the looks of it. And that's the area in the old world map, or in this old world map anyway. And I'm going to pause it there for 1 minute to see if I can take off the hearts. Yeah, so not really sure. I'm not going to spend too much time trying to get rid of them. I might get rid of them for the next one if I can figure it out. Can't be that hard. Google seems to make these things so counterintuitive. So what we're going to do is we need to finish off our quest around here. We were being introduced to members of the Tuatha De Danann, is what we were being doing. And we were introduced to, we were talking about Navin, and we were talking about Lug, we were talking about Nuaga. So we know what happened in the second battle of My Torah, and we're going to go and we're going to deep dive into that area shortly. But before we do, we're going to have a look a bit more in depth at the people of the Tuatha De Danann, just so that we could try to familiarise ourselves a little more with them. So in Irish mythology, Nuaga was the first king of the Tuatha De Danann. So he was the king who came to the land to challenge the Fir Bullock, and he lost his arm in the battle, the first battle of My Torah. He's also called Nachtan, Nuadu, Nacht, and Elkmar, and he's the husband of Boan. So I hadn't realised this when I made the first two videos, but he is called the husband of Boan many times. So Boan, you remember, is the goddess of the boyne. She is the lady who had she had an affair with the Dagda. So Boan was a Tuatha De Danann, and she and the Dagda were together, and they had a son called Angus, that you'll remember. And Nuaga obviously was not happy with that. So Dagda was a Tuatha De Danann as well, but he also had Fomorian blood in him. So the Dagda had some Fomorian blood. His father, or his grandfather, was Elaha. But anyway, he was magically healed by Dean Ceacht, or Jean Caked. Sorry, Ifada, Dean Caked. And he could be equated with God Odin's. Is he Odin? They're all equated with flipping Odin. So that's Nuaga, so the leader of the Tuatha De Danann. Also the husband of Boan. And Nuaga and Boan and Angus, they have their own little tale. Well, what the tales we're going to focus on is that Nuaga was deposed, as we know, as the leader of the Tuatha De Danann. So he lost his place as the leader, and he was replaced by Bress, who was a Fomorian, and it was some horrible years for the Tuatha De Danann under Bress. And then Nuaga got his power back, and they concocted a plan to get rid of the Fomorians. So what happened was that before the battle, the Dagda built a fortress for Bress called Dún Bress. Might find that. And was also forced by Fomorian kings Elaha, Indach, Tethra to build raths. So in part of the tale, I think one of the tales, Elaha is Dagda's father, or grandfather. We'll put the dots together again anyway. There's just so many names. So The Dagda takes the side of men, on the side of Lug, on the side of the Tuatha Danann in the war against the Fomorians, he says. The Dagda had an affair with Boan, wife of Elkmar. In order to hide the affair, he made the sun stand still for 9 months. We remember that. So that's the story of Dagda. That tale actually extends and talks about how he didn't give any of his land to Angus. And then Angus tricked Dagda into taking the land off him. There's a little tale here. I'm not going to go into all of this. I'm just going to scan it. He's credited with a 70 or 80-year reign over the Tuatha Danann before dying at Brunapona, finally succumbing to a wound inflicted by Cethlen during the Second Battle of My Torah. So we might investigate that at some stage, the death of the Dagda. So he died at Brunapona. So was the battle taking place all across the plain? So he died at Brunapona. Did he just head back to Brunapona after the Second Battle of My Torah? Because the Second Battle of My Torah was said to have happened over in Mayo, where I pointed out, and not in Brunapona, which is where he was said to have lived. In the Dinshankas, the Dagda described as swift with a poison draught and a just dealing lord. He's called the King of Erin with hosts of hostages, the noble slender prince, and the father of Sarmat, Angus, and Aid. So we'll find out who the Dagda is a bit more in a minute. We must look into Dunbress at some stage as well. I wonder where that's meant to be. Good old Bress. So the Dagda was the husband of the Morrigan. So the Dagda, who was the father of Angus and the lover of Boan, we must remember. Boan is the goddess of the river Boyne. The Dagda is said to be the husband of the Morrigan. So the Morrigan is said to be the daughters Eru, Banba, and Fowla, the Morrigan. The Trinity, the triple goddess, which pops up several times in Irish mythology, which we'll look into as time goes on as well. He's got 2 brothers. He's linked exclusively with Ogma in the Dinshankas. He has a daughter named Anya, for whom he makes a twig basket. The Dagda's father is Elaha. So the father of Dagda is Elaha, son of Delba. So that's important to remember. Dagda's father is Elaha. Elaha is the Fomorian. Elaha is also the father of Bress, who was the leader of the Tuatha Danann, who was overthrown at the Second Battle of My Torah. Bress initiated the Second Battle of My Torah by gathering an army of Fomorians to fight the Tuatha Danann. So that battle probably took place all over the plain. Like we're looking at these. We're looking at it happened here, but like in terms of size, these places actually aren't that far away. Like when you come out to here, which is where the battles were said to be taking place, I mean, you've got all this area here, which is also all destroyed as well. So were these battles taking place all over the place, but maybe some of the pivotal battles were in these areas here. Maybe these were the strongholds. I get the feeling that there was a stronghold here, which is now the underground suzerains. So there was some sort of heavy masonry under here. And there's a stronghold here, which is Brunapona. Strongholds all over the place, I'm sure. But these seem to be 2 important ones, this area. And this area here doesn't seem to play a massive role. Cavan, Monaghan, yet anyway. It probably does. But we'll continue. So the Dagda is the son of Delbath. And Delbath was one of several figures from Irish mythology who was often confused. So the repetition of Delbath is constant, which is why we have to be aware that maybe these characters are overlaid onto each other and they are the same person. Maybe the Dagda is Delbath, is Elaha. They're all the same person, maybe. Who knows? And they're all from Orion. There's no Firbolg. We've got to think in these terms with myth. So his father is variously listed as Egnis or Ogma. I don't, and so this is once again this is the circular. Delbath is the father of Elaha, and Elaha is the father of Delbath. Are they just the same person? Dela, you'll remember from me saying earlier, is the father of the Fomorians. The father of the Fomor, or the Firbolg. Father of the Firbolg brothers is Dela. You'll remember I said earlier. So Elaha, who is the son of Delba, and the father of Bress, and the father of Dagda. He's also the father of several other people. He was a king of the Fomorians. And the Dagda by an unnamed mother. So I have a story of the Dagda being born by Ethnu. And Ethnu is the mother of Lug and the daughter of Balor of the evil eye. So that's who I have the Dagda being born by. And that's the only reference to a mother I can find. So this is the interesting one here now, right? So we've discussed all shapes and sizes of people here, but it tends to go back to two people, and that is Ernmas, and she's the mother goddess, and she's one of the original Tuatha Danann, and her daughters are the Morrigan, Eru, Banba, and Fola, the Trinity war goddess, Bab, Macha, Annan, also called the Morrigan, and she also has the three sons, Glon, Gnin, and Cusker, and she's got other sons, Fiacra and Ollum. Ernmas was killed during the first battle of My Torah and is called a she-farmer in the Lower Goal Éireann. So Ernmas was a conqueror, so she came along with the Tuatha Dé Danann. So she came along with Nuaga, and when she arrived, she battled the Firbolgs at the first battle of My Torah, which took place near Cong in Mayo. She was a goddess who had daughters and sons. She was killed in the first battle of My Torah, so she met her end in that battle. So she already had her kids, and her kids were half Fomorian. So the children of the Tuatha Dé Danann, Eru, Banba, and Fola, they had fatherhood from, was it Elaha or Delbla? I think it was Delbla. So Delbla was the father of, his daughters by Ernmas were the three Irish goddesses, Eru, Banba, and Fola. So Delblath is the original Fomorian king. He is the progenitor of the Fomorians in Irish mythology, Delbath. He's the first guy, okay? He had children with Ernmas, who was a goddess of the Tuatha Dé Danann. He had children with her before the first battle of My Torah. So the Tuatha Dé Danann and the Fomorians were already bound in familial relationships before the Tuatha Dé Danann decided to invade the Firbolg. And the Firbolg lived alongside the Tuatha Dé Danann after they were invaded. And all of these characters played a continuing role in Irish history and Irish mythology. So that's a serious mouthful to get the head around. And it's heavy going to try and understand this Irish mythology. But once you get the head around it, and we'll keep repeating it and we'll look at it and we'll figure out where it is we're meant to be going. So we've nearly finished up with the people of, or the characters of the battles of Ireland, the main battles of Ireland. And we've gathered that Ernmas and Delbath are the two progenitors of most of the characters that we have in this tale. So he's succeeded by his grandfather. So he's very listed Egmont, Argan, the mother, Ethne, the Fomorians. He succeeded his grandfather, Uchud Olahar, the Dagda. So in this, his grandfather was the Dagda and he succeeded him. So also, once again, it's that circular, like, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, for 10 characters, the Dagda was one. And for 10 female characters, Ethnu was the other. You know? His mother was listed as Ethnu as well. So you've got this circular, you know, he's the father, he's the son, he's the grandfather. It's just this constant confusion. So you can't really pay too much notice, but it's good to be aware of the characters and the allegiances that each one of them have to each other. So all of these characters ended up in a gigantic fight over in this area here, and that's where we're going to pick up our next episode. We're going to start looking at this area. We're going to look at some abbeys, and we're going to deep dive really into the masonry in this area here. We're going to see a lot of pictures. We've got our characters. It's important to get the backstory. It's a tricky backstory to get, but essentially the backstory as it stands now is that we've got a group of people inhabiting the land that all seems to have descended from the same original bloodline, but they're a warring familial group over a long period of time that have been fighting over rights for Ireland for a while. So I think that that's everything. There is some extra information about Lug, I think, that I have that might be good. Let's have a look at the Battle of My Torah. So to give you an idea of what happens in that battle before we go there, I suppose, the Tuatha Dé Danann win. Lug leads the army of the Tuatha Dé Danann into battle, and he kills Balor, who is his grandfather essentially. And there's all stories to go on behind this. After victory, Lug finds Bress, the half-Fomorian former king of the Tuatha Dé Danann, alone and unprotected on the battlefield. Bress begs for his life. If he's spared, he promises he will ensure that the cows of Ireland always give milk. The Tuatha Dé Danann refuse the offer. He then promises 4 harvests a year, but the Tuatha Dé say 1 harvest a year suits them. But Lug spared his life on condition that he teach the Tuatha Dé Danann how and when to plough, sow, and reap. There's an interesting twist on it there as well. You know, the Tuatha Dé Danann don't know how to plough, don't they? Lug, to give you some backstory on Lug. So maybe we'll leave Lug for the next one. But just to say that Lug is another half-breed of the Tuatha Dé Danann and the Fomorians. And his father is Cian of the Tuatha Dé Danann, and his mother is Ethnu, the daughter of Balor. And Balor was said to live up here. This is Tory Island. So he was said to live up here on Tory Island. But if you remember from that other map, that if you look at Tory Island wasn't an island back then, which is very interesting. So Balor, the grandfather of Lug, he used to live up here in he had a great tower, and he put the daughter in the tower. And there's a whole tale to go with that. So that's what we're going to pick up in the next episode. We're going to move over, and we're going to look at this area, and we're going to discuss what was going on with the locks. We've got a lot of cathedrals here, got a lot of spires, there's a lot of activity. Don't see any star forts here. We might deep dive for some star forts into this area a different day. So with that, I think we're going to call it, and We're going to save the rest of the material for the next episode. As a reminder, we looked at Navin today and we looked at Teltown as the area of Taltu, the goddess Taltu, who was the foster mother of Lug. And Lug is going to figure prominently in the next episodes because he is essentially the man that the Tuatha Dé Danann place all of their hopes on. And he is the hope of freedom from the yoke of Bress. So Talta was foster mother to him, and this was the area that they apparently lived in. So with that, I'm going to call it there. Hope you enjoyed. See you again in the next one for part 4. Have a great weekend. Have a great whatever part of the day you're in, depending on when you listen to this. And think good thoughts.